Welcome to the Single Father Podcast. I am your host, Kendall Donaker. This podcast is dedicated for anyone out there who's dealing with mental health and fatherhood. You'll hear about my struggles, my defeats, my victories, my highs, my lows, my triumphs, my tribulations, and everything in between. I like to call this a collection of journal entries into my struggle and adapting to single fatherhood. Without further ado, let's take a look inside my journal, the Single Father Podcast. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and otherwise. It is your host, Kendall Donaker. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. I have to admit, today's episode is going to be a little bit challenging for me because I titled it Taking Responsibility for Your Own Happiness. And it's a little interesting for me because lately I haven't been feeling too happy at all. And I can't exactly pinpoint what it is. Well, I will tell you, I don't think I've been handling the fact that my child's mother had a baby with someone else. I don't think I've been handling it too well at all, in fact. And I know all of you, right off the bat, you're all like, hey, it has nothing to do with you. It happens all the time. I get it, blah, blah, blah. I get it. It's just, I don't know. I'm not handling it too well. And I think it brought me down a spiral of thinking that maybe I'm not handling a lot of things. Maybe I'm just not handling a lot of things that well. And maybe I need to rethink and examine a lot of things in my life. Most importantly, how I got here. I just think it's time that I take responsibility for my own unhappiness. I have to. And I have to face the challenges of why I'm unhappy. And I won't bury the lead here. I'll talk about the biggest one. The first real thing that's bugging me is my child had a baby. I'm sorry. Wow. The first thing that's bugging me is my child's mother had a baby with someone else. That's the real problem for me. I thought I didn't care, and if you were to ask me if I care, if you held me to a lie detector test, I think I'd pass and truly say I really don't give a fuck. But subliminally, I know it's bothering me. And I can't tell what it is about it that's bothering me because I'm not in love with her anymore, It's weird, guys. It is. I just been having these visions, these images in my head. Sometimes I'll walk into a room and I'll just imagine me, her, and our kids just playing around a room together and just us smiling and looking at our family. It's almost like this alternate parallel universe. And shit, maybe it is. I don't know if you guys believe in that sort of thing, that sci-fi parallel universe aspect, but it just, I've been seeing it so clearly in my head sometimes. And it's just like I'll walk into a room and I'll see another crib there. I'll see a house of me raising a whole family and it's not really there. And before you guys think it's schizophrenia, trust me, I know that it's not really there. It's just, you know what I mean? You walk into a room and you just envision something and you just wake up and think, man, that was a nice daydream, wasn't it? And, I think it just made me start to think about all the negative things that's been going on, in relation to having her have that baby. And I think it just opened up an old wound that I kept closing for so long. Like, how did I get here? Why am I single? And truthfully, I thought it'd be me by now that had a baby. I thought it'd be me that started a family. I thought it'd be me that would be looking at her as the lonely one, the lonely single mother. But no. It just feels like I'm the one racing to keep up. I feel bad. It feels sucky. It feels like I've done something wrong, you know? It feels like I'm not doing something right. And then after those visions stopped, I started getting an overwhelming sense of regret and just regretting everything on how I came to this point in my life. Regretting all of the decisions that I made when we were together. And again, to clarify, it's weird because it's not like I wish that we were back together. Not at all, actually. It's just, I often think of what could have been had things been done differently. You know what I mean? Hence everyone that's ever lived, I'm sure. But, you know, in my head, I think if I would have just done a few things differently, maybe she would end up a different person, or maybe I would, you know, you just think of that over and over and over, around and around in my head. Like maybe if I would have took that poster off my wall, little things like that. And, you know, it's hard to explain my behavior during that time. It's almost like I had an early life crisis instead of a midlife crisis. Like I felt like I had a little bit of a mental breakdown during that time. You know, I was just finishing up college. We found out we were having a baby. I had to move 12 hours on my own with this big U-Haul and this, all of my shit in my car. I had to start a new job out in Vegas. I'm living with my parents at the time until I get into my new home. And then suddenly she wants to move in with me, and I hate my job. It's a restaurant, and you know, it's just, I feel like a lot of things were happening at once. And I felt like my behavior at that time was due to kind of the stressors around me that were going on. And I just wasn't prepared to handle it all at once. I had no outlet. You know, I feel like I just felt like I truly just wasn't myself. And, you know, this restaurant that I was working at was probably by far the most stressful environment I've ever been at in my entire life. Any of you who's worked at a very, very busy restaurant, who's on your feet and dealing with rude, angry customers, especially in the morning, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That awful feeling of dealing with the most awful people in the world. And, I don't know. You know, I want to see if you can back me up here. You know, when my kid was born and I was working at the restaurant, I guess I could have demanded, and I should have demanded, that I took the day off after she was born. But any of you who's worked at a restaurant, you know it's not that easy. You can't just call off work. You can't just cancel. You can't just say I'm sick and I'm not coming in. A restaurant doesn't work. A restaurant doesn't function that way. You know, at least normal restaurants, you can't just do that. So, you know, my child's mother, my baby mama, she was a little bit uncomfortable about me leaving, and I knew she was, but you know, at the time she was cool about it. Later I found out that she wasn't cool about it at all, but at the time she was like, do what you got to do. And when my daughter was born, all my focus in my head was keeping my job and feeding my family and making sure that everyone's okay, you know, putting money on the table. I got mouths to feed. That's what was in my head. So I wanted to man up and go to work. And I want to clarify, it's not like I wanted to do that, but it's almost like I felt like I had to. Anyone who's worked at a restaurant, you know that the busy nature of it, the function of it, I mean, just, you know, I want to see if you guys can back me up here. Really, email me at hello@ventpack.org and tell me if I'm wrong. you know that it's not that easy to just cancel. And as awful and rude as it may have been, and it may be a bitch move on my end, I'm not canceling it, but I felt like I couldn't. So I went to work, and she forever was so upset and really butthurt about that. She was, and I didn't know until much later, but I was just concerned about making the money for my family and not getting fired. You know what I mean? But yeah, she wasn't cool about it. I wish I handled it differently, and I wish I'd done it. But it is what it is, and that was that. And all of you know about me being uncomfortable. If you listen to some of my earlier episodes, you know about the struggles of me being uncomfortable about the whole pregnancy, the 9 months in general, about me not knowing if it was mine or not, and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of controversy, as well as, I say controversy as I was on TMZ, but no, there's a whole bunch of drama on, little affairs here and there. I was uncomfortable. There was just so much going on around that time that, yeah, I did feel like maybe I wasn't the best boyfriend. No, I wasn't the best boyfriend during that time, but I had a lot going on, and I know that's no excuse for bad behavior. But if you would have known and saw what was inside my head and looked at it from outside looking in, like, I feel like you could have seen why I was a little bit stressed or wasn't myself during that time. Yeah, it was really hard. And even after that, I wish I did things differently and make things better. But and I fully admit that. I fully admit that I was trying to keep my options open because I was afraid of everything that was going on. I was afraid that, if I really broke down and committed and did this and that I would end up losing everything and losing myself. And I was afraid. I was afraid of commitment. I was afraid of the love that was in front of me. And, I made some terrible decisions during that time that I just regret. And ironically, those decisions ended up me losing my family anyway, at least my child's mother. And although I wholeheartedly believe that she did some things as well that led to this and that, I'm not so above and not less of a man where I can't admit that I was wrong and that things were definitely my fault. I guess that's why I'm having these visions, because you often wonder what could you have done differently? What would life have been like now? Would she still be the same person that I don't recognize? The same person that, between you and I can't stand sometimes? Or would she be that caring, loving person that I remember? The person, with a beautiful soul, and that I remember had this angelic voice that made me feel so comfortable. I felt like she was the perfect match for me at one point. I felt like she made me feel safe and important and valued, and saying all these things, you wonder why I fucked it all up. But I don't know. I really did love her at one point, I'll tell you that. And it's hard for me not to say that I still don't love her. I see her all the time when I look in my daughter's eyes, which is ironic because I haven't seen the woman in person in about 10 months. I only see her boyfriend. But I see her all the time when I look at my daughter. And she helped me make my daughter. So if I love my child, how can I not still love her? You know what I mean? And I don't know, I the relationship part of it, look, I'm over that. But I guess part of me is just punishing myself for the things that I didn't do and the regrets that I have. And, I often wonder if that's going to haunt me on the way to heaven sometimes. It's just, am I going to be buried down by all the weight of the regret and some of the shame that I have from my life so far? And you can think, hey, dude, you're only in your 20s, but man, it's been a tough go of it, and I haven't really had anyone to lean on besides, you guys. And this is one hell of a therapy session, right? And you guys would be heavily compensated if it wasn't just a podcast. And I don't know how to make things right in my heart where I feel like, where I feel whole and complete and completely, what's the word? Healed of my anguishes and some of my pain. But, and maybe I should speak to someone professionally, but, I just know that I'm not handling it that well. And I know that it bothers me and I just feel like, I guess that I fucked up a bit, you're like, dude, you've been single for so long and you had the opportunity to have this beautiful family. And that's the other thing, the other thing that's making me sad is just being single, which is ironic again, hence the name of my podcast. But I mean, listen, it's a tough game out here in Vegas, and Vegas is definitely not the place to, go out and date and find the love of your life. Vegas is not a great place to meet people. It's a great place to hook up and to party, but to meet the love of your life, your partner, your forever person, I don't know. That's a little tough. I'm trying to work on myself and to read these books on how to find a better match and to read these articles and the girl that I am looking for and the girls I should stay away from, which happens to be the ones that I match with the most. But I'm definitely looking to find a woman that's valuable and makes me feel valuable, that we mutually find each other important and funny and career oriented and a beautiful match. But at this point it feels like that's asking too much. And Vegas is just not it when it comes to that sort of shit, and everyone who has listened to the podcast in previous episodes, you know that for often a long period of time, it felt like the only thing that I had to bring to the table was sex and laughter. I didn't really feel like I had too much else. And I think that's why I focus and I work so hard at my job, is I want to bring things to the table, whether it's money, my career, the things that I have or own. I want to be important to somebody. I want to be a valuable asset to somebody, because it just feels hard at times. I know some people look at me differently when I have a kid, and and I'm not apologizing for it at all. I'm more so think of my daughter as like my partner in crime, like literally she's an extension of myself. So it's like you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting me, and then you're getting my mini me. She's my sidekick. She's everything to me. She's so important, and I'm grateful to the ones who can look at that and accept me for me, and accept that I have my partner in crime attached to me. And I'm also grateful to the ones who do not accept that, because it kind of helps me weed out the ones that aren't a good match. It's funny because there's a side note here. I keep matching with this girl every once in a while who I guess had a bad experience with me. We matched on a dating app a long time ago, and we spoke for about a day. And then the next day I told her that I had a kid, and she's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you would hide a kid from me." And I'm like, "Look, I'm not hiding it. It's not on my dating profile, but the first day we were talking, it just didn't come up, and we were talking a little nasty. And I just wanted to tell you today." And she was weird. She got weird about it. She's like, "Hey, I'm not looking to be a stepmom. I'm not looking to be anyone's mother and things like that, which I totally look fair as fuck, right? But I think at the time, to be honest with you, it offended me, and I think I said something along the terms of like, hey, that's totally fine. It just helps me weed out the ones that aren't a right fit for me. And I think I said something along the terms of, I try to weed out the bad seeds or some shit like that. I don't know what I said exactly. I remember it was a bit passive, and she got really, she got offended by it and blah, blah, blah. But it's funny because every couple months I keep rematching with her, and I have a very terrible, awful memory. And by the way, if any of you have this problem, please email me at hello@ventpack.org and tell me about it. And because I want to know. But I have a thing where I almost just forget people. If you're out of my life for maybe like a month or two, I almost forget completely who you are. Like if we even had a conversation. So I keep rematching with her, completely forgetting who she is. Every time she says, "You don't remember me," or we've matched before, you know that? And she brings up the story, and I forget, and I remind myself, and we unmatch, and blah, 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 blah. I don't know why she keeps matching with me. Like, you could say the same about me, but I literally forget who she is every single time. I don't even remember her face now. The only reason I even remembered it now is because I was on topic. But whether her face, her name, I have completely no idea who she is. Anyway, that's just a little side note. I digress. But, and if any of you have that problem, please let me know. But yeah, so we unmatch, blah, blah, blah. But, but it really helps me just kind of weed out the ones that aren't a fit for me. So I appreciate the ones who tell me that. And truth be told, listen, I will fully admit now that as hypocritical as it may sound, I get it, because I don't even know if I could date someone with a kid. I think I think it's out of my comfort level. It's a little bit of an extra step that I don't think I'm willing to take. And again, as hypocritical as that is, look, it's just all about what you're comfortable with. I'm comfortable with my daughter, and I'm comfortable creating a new life and bringing a new life into this earth. But when it comes to taking care of someone else's life, some people can do it, and I hope the love of my life can. And there's some people who I don't think can, and who aren't comfortable with that. And that's fair. And I don't think you should shame someone for that. And I think I'm some of those. I think I'm one of those people. I don't know, but I work hard because I want to bring stuff to the table. I want to bring the extra goodness. Yeah, he has a kid, but he's rich. He has a big blah blah blah, and he has some. He brings stuff to the table. You know what I mean? And I want to be valuable. I want to have a lot to offer, a lot to give. Some men look for what they can take, but a true man looks for what he can give. That's from The Lion King, by the way. But yeah, that's why I work so hard, and why I buy so many things for my daughter is because I want to feel valued. I want her to feel loved. I want her to feel like she has everything that I can give her. It's hard because another thing that kind of really makes me unhappy is I feel like I have this persona, but not a persona because it is me, but it's more of a sheltered version of me. It's just this, Kendall's the happy, the funny guy. He's the guy who makes us all laugh and kind of jokes about everything, but some things I actually don't find funny in regard to my life. And although I may laugh about it, sometimes it really does bother me. And it's hard because of the person that I created for other people to see, the funny guy. It's hard for me to have a serious conversation with people. You know what I mean? If you're always the funny guy and you suddenly bring up a serious, drop bomb, it's hard to kind of have that feel natural or comfortable. Does that make sense? When it comes into a natural flowing conversation. So, I may laugh it off about me being single, but yeah, it hurts me. And I'm like, man, It's funny. I just had a conversation with a friend about this. I'm almost 28 years old. And by almost, I mean, I'm 6 months away, but in my head, I'm a futurist. I'm always thinking, man, I'm almost 28 years old. I'm almost 30. I need to find the love. I don't want to match with 30-year-olds. I want to match with 25 to 27-year-olds, of which my age range. I'm just, I guess I'm worried, and does that make sense? I don't always want to be the funny guy. I want to have a conversation with my friends and not feeling like it's uncomfortable when I say, guys, I'm actually really worried about me being single, and I'm worried about a lot of things, and I kind of want your advice. You know what I mean? And I want that to flow naturally, but I don't know how to kind of break the persona of me being funny. But then that kind of goes back to my own, me being comfortable with myself and me not feeling like I have anything to offer besides being funny. What do I have to offer my friends if it's not laughter? You know what I mean? That kind of goes to my own kind of self worth, I guess. You know what I mean? And I remember back in the day when I thought, wow, I just had sex and I'm worried because I haven't had sex in a few months that I'm never going to have sex again. And then a few belt buckles later and you say, well, now I'm worried that I'll never find a girlfriend. And then you have a girlfriend. Well, I'm worried that I'll never find a family. And then you have a baby mama. Well, I'm worried I'll never have a kid. Then you have a kid. And I guess you just kind of go around and around you go. I'm worried that I'll never have. I'm worried that I'll never have. I'm worried that I'll never have. And you kind of play that over and over and you're getting in your mind. And it doesn't help manifest the things that you want. But it does hold you back from the gratitude that you have when you actually do experience those things. Does that make sense? Like you can worry yourself into feeling like you don't have enough. I feel like I've done that to myself. I've worried myself so much that when I actually get what I want, it almost feels like it's nothing, like it was given to me, like it was just I don't know a right word for it, but it just feels like I'm not worthy of it. You know what I mean? Like I'm worried that I'll lose it. Okay, yeah, hey, I got this. Now what? I'm worried. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how it was with my baby mama. Yeah, I got a nice family. Now I'm worried I'll lose it, so I got to keep my options open. You know what I mean? And it just often leads to your downfall if you think like that. And I've been desperately trying to shift my mindset these last few years and to change the way that I think about things and to be actually grateful and experience gratitude when I get something that I've manifested for so long or that I thought about for so long, instead of feeling like I'm not worthy of it or I'm instantly going to lose it, to not feel so worried about the future. You know what I mean? And, I don't know. I want to ask, what's next with someone that can actually help me give an answer? You know what I mean? I when I'm thinking about what's next, I want someone to be there and help me find an answer to these things that's collectively ours together. You know what I mean? I want my partner. I want my person. I want someone to connect with and grow with and to tame my soul when I'm worried. You know what I mean? And I don't have that. And I feel like that's what's been bothering me about, my child's mother having this baby, is because I feel like she has that, and I'm jealous. I'm angry by it. And, she's been asking me if I want to move to Colorado for a long time. Her and her boyfriend want to get out of Vegas. And look, I've been against it, mostly because it's easier said than done. I can't just pick up and leave. I have a career, it has to be, you know what I mean? But I've been against it because I'm like, I'm working on finding my love, but maybe I do need to start fresh somewhere. I don't know. And I think that's the problem, is I don't know. I want to know, but I don't. And that's always been my problem, is I'm just worried about what's next. you know? I've never been able to just calm and take in what I have and enjoy. You know what I mean? I've never been able to just say, look at everything I have and just be grateful for it. I've always just been afraid of losing it. You know what I mean? I want to experience that blissful relief, that sigh of breath that you take when you feel like I have enough, I have what I need. And I feel like I don't have that as of right now. You know, I don't have that mindset. I don't have that person. I'm really striving for it, you know? And part of my problem with dating, to tell you the truth, is I don't go out much. You know, I'm not meeting the people I should here in Vegas. Because all of my friends are in relationships. If I want to go out, you know, I've tried going out single, just as a single guy going out to a bar and trying to meet someone. It feels awkward, you know. You always feel more hyped up and confident when you're with someone, when you're with your buddy. I had that in college. I don't have that now. And even the main person that I had it with, and even he's in a relationship, you know. And you're like, man, that was my wingman. That was my buddy. I don't have people that I can just go out with and wingman with and pick up girls with. And, you know, I don't have that anymore. Everyone's in a relationship. And although I could do that with some of my friends now, I could, but it's always kind of difficult to kind of plan that together, to have all of our schedules match up and to go out and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean? It's kind of difficult with everyone kind of being in a relationship and scheduling and shit like that. So it's rare that I have the opportunity to do that even with my buddies. So that's the difficult part. The other part of it is I truly don't even have the time to even be on Tinder and Bumble and just sit there and swipe for a fucking hour. Girls have it easy. You just have these thousands of men just swarming over you all the time. But for me, it's just kind of hard for me to find the time just to be like, okay, I'm not going to do anything but just swipe here because I get distracted. I'll swipe throughout the day. But listen, I don't even want to be in bed and just swipe. You know what I mean? That's my comfort zone. It's just finding the time to do it is just ridiculously hard. And so, and around and around we go. You know, I get matches, and it's kind of like, you know, it's not people that I'm interested in, or they say something off-putting and I'm not interested. And, and that also becomes my other issue is like on the times that I could meet up with someone, maybe I can't do it because I have my kid. And although 1 week on, 1 week off, helps me, it's just all about timing. And, listen, I hope that in time the perfect woman just falls into my lap. But, it feels like lately I've been a little impatient. I'm like, please, God, like, I feel like it's time. I'm ready to settle down. I'm ready to be a committed man. I'm ready to fall in love. I'm really lonely out here. I'm working on being a better man. I'm working on growing. Please allow me the opportunity to grow with someone. You know what I mean? Give me that. Give me the opportunity to have someone in my life. And, and I was talking to a friend about this too. A really big issue is, not issue, but a concern is I was talking to my friend about how hard it is to imagine having someone in my life raising my daughter with me. I mean, because I've always been a single father. I think I've spoke about this before in my previous episodes. Her mother and I, her being my child's mother, and I, we broke up, I think, a month after my daughter was born. So I have always been a single father. I've done it all. I fed her bottles. I made the formula. I changed the diapers, the rocking chairs, the strollers, all of it. I've done it on my own. No co-parenting, of course, but I've done it on my own. With my daughter now being 4 years old, it's hard to imagine someone helping me raise her. It just feels strange. You know what I mean? It almost feels like there'd be too many chefs in the kitchen, right? You have her mother, her boyfriend, and you'd have me and someone else. It almost just feels a little strange. All of these pieces there trying to raise that little girl. It feels a little weird, and if any of you have advice or some books or podcasts I should listen to on that, please let me know, because I'd love to explore more about that, because it does feel like a strange concept that I'm not used to or not fully able to I don't want to say open myself up to yet, but it's I think you guys kind of get what I mean. It's weird. It's going to be strange, and I'll let you guys know how it works out, if it ever does work out. But it's a hard pill to swallow when that day comes. And I don't know how Layla is going to react either. The day someone tells her, "Hey, no, Layla, don't do that." What an awkward day that will be. And and like I said, of course, you guys are saying right now, well, why not meet other single parents? Well, as I mentioned before, again, hypocritical. I just can't imagine raising someone else's child. As hypocritical and as selfish as that is, I think that's beyond my comfort zone. But I'm not rude about it. While other people are saying, it's for the weak or something like that. No. You shouldn't shame anyone, and you should love everyone, and this and that. But and I'm not saying never say never, but I think that's a little bit of an extra step that I don't think I'm able to take. And sometimes it just feels like I'm meant to be single. I've been single for so long that I don't know. It feels like it will never come my way. And of course, everyone says that until a week later, they meet the partner and the love of their life. But I don't know. I mean, it just feels like it's just difficult. I mean, I've made a whole podcast about what I don't like about dating apps. I mean, these days, you have to speak to someone for 2 weeks on texting before you can actually go out and meet them in person in real life for coffee. And I'm so against that, by the way. I'm so much against that. If you really want to know someone, you should get to know them in person. But, topic for another rambling day. Yeah, I just been feeling so lonely. And part of it is just my family. And when it comes to my family, I think that's a really big part of what's been making me depressed. In a lack of better words, the complete disappointment of my family and where we are now as a whole and a unit is just a huge disappointment. And I spoke about it before in length in other episodes, but my family is so broken. I recently went to Disney with my dad, my younger sister, and myself and my daughter, of course. And there's a few instances where I felt the tension from my dad that I felt when I was a young kid in high school. You know what I mean? By the way, Disney was a trip. First of all, it's probably excessive heat waves all through California and Nevada, right? We get in my dad's car. We're driving about 30, 40 minutes out of Vegas. It's so hot. We're in traffic. Out of nowhere, smoke starts coming. First of all, he loses AC. We drive for another 5 minutes. Smoke starts coming from his car. Boom, it breaks down. Oh, fuck. So he pulls over, loses his engine and shit like that, blah, blah, blah. And me and him just have a massive panic for just a second. We're like, holy fuck, what do we do? We are fucking 40 minutes away out of Vegas. His radiator just blew. And first of all, you don't even hear about a radiator breaking anymore. That's something old Joe Biden says in one of his speeches. Back when the radiator was, you know what I'm saying? Blah, blah, blah. But you don't even hear about the radiator. So his radiator fucking blew. I have my tickets for Disney in the morning. I'm freaking out. It's hot as fuck. It's about 1:15. We got the kids in the car. And we just kind of slowly calmed down and we kind of figured a plan out. He called one of his friends up, said, "Hey, can you come get us at this gas station? I'm going to try to drive my car, put it in neutral and kind of, coast my way to this gas station I can stop at under the shade." Luckily it worked. He puts the car in neutral, coasts to this nearby gas station. His friend comes and picks us up. Calls the tow truck company, tells them where his car is at. They pick it up. We drive back to Vegas, and we decide to take my car. And I was like, okay, well, let me get an oil change and and put coolant in my car real quick, because I'll be damned if that happens to me. So we drive out to Disney. Had a fantastic time. I had a magical time at Disney. I really did. But he was a little bit on edge about his car, naturally, and I understand that. But my dad is the type of person that, and I'm sure you guys have this in your family, he's the type of person that when he gets angry, everyone in the world can feel it. You know what I mean? You guys have parents like that or friends like that where if they're angry, everyone can feel it. And I understood that, but I mean, look, it's hard to tell someone to let it go when you're in Disneyland, and their car could be thousands of dollars in the hole. But I get it. But I'm like, look, dude, your demeanor kind of almost traumatized me into feeling like I was back in high school and feeling like you're the boogeyman again. You know what I mean? And I spoke about this before, my dad, it just kind of took me back to some of the horrible things that he did, specifically to my mom and his actions when I was younger. And although I think he's a reformed kind of better man, there's still tendencies in him and tendencies I hate that I have from him and blase, blase, blah. But and when I felt his tension, it just made me extremely uncomfortable and kind of brought these traumatic memories for me. And it made me feel yucky. You know what I mean? It made me feel horrible. And I don't know. And when it comes to my mom, she's really disappointing as well. It's really not worth talking about. I spoke in length about her already, but, if it just feels like the only person that I really have that I know would just do anything for me, just die for me. They give the clothes off their back for me. You know what I mean? Give their last dollar to me is my Nana. And my Nana's like my mom, and I think you guys have heard me speak about my Nana. I mean, she raised me after my parents got divorced. She took me in, made me a better man and instilled things into me that I felt were shitty at the time. But a couple of years later, you realize that she was just so right. And, I'm really sorry to the way I acted to her when I was a teenager. I was just so angry at the world, at my parents, and going into foster care and a lot of other things in high school that I was just angry with and hurt and traumatized by. And I treated her so poorly when she took me in. And I was just dumb, angry little kid. And I'm forever just ashamed of my actions. It's one thing I'm deeply ashamed of. My greatest shame is when you grow older, you realize, when you grow older and become a man, you just realize what a boy you were. You know what I mean? But she really cares about me. She does. But as she gets older, you realize that she's really set in her ways. She's very stubborn and old-fashioned, black soul. She's very prideful, and it bothers the fuck out of me. But she's very impressive. She has all these PhDs and degrees, but I'm protective of my Nana, so I don't want to speak too much into some of the negative aspects about her life. But I often tell her, hey, you need help. You need these government programs to come and help you and things like that. And she has all of these reasons for telling me no, and it upsets me. And, I'm trying to help her, and she's stubborn about it. And, when she gets really testy of certain things, if you can't do something for her right in the moment where she needs it, it can almost be like the end of your relationship with her. She can really take it personally. And, you're just like, hey, Nana, the world doesn't work like this, blah, blah, blah. You need to, and you try to lecture her and blah, 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 but she doesn't just want to hear it. She's just, stubborn old black lady. And she's my love. She's my mother, but she acts like she has conditional love sometimes, but she has unconditional love, if that makes sense. I know that she loves me unconditionally. It's just she can act very conditional in some cases. And that really bothers me. It really does. And sometimes you're just like, God, I don't know. I just don't want to do this anymore. You just kind of want to just say, fuck this. I'm done with the whole family. I don't want to deal with any of you. But, it's hard to hold a grudge against, a 71, 72-year-old woman. And you feel like I don't even have the time to hold a grudge. It's hard to hold a grudge against my dad. The man's almost 50. And you think about, I don't have the time to, be angry with you. And, it's difficult for me because you want to let go. And yet it's not like I feel obligated to hold on, but you feel a duty. That's my family, and that's my family. As horrible as I think my family is, that's my family, and I don't know. There's nothing more of a stronger bond than family, right? At least that's what you're supposed to say. But my Nana, I call my Nana on my happiest moments, on my worst moments. She's like my best friend, I tell her everything. And she always can guide me in the right direction. She can always steer me into a level of sanity to let me know when I'm wrong or right, or to give me a different perspective on things, And when it comes to what I just said about holding a grudge against a 71, 72-year-old woman, you think, well, what happens when you're gone? The thought of losing her, it almost kind of like, it just makes me lose words. I don't want to ever lose her. Because you almost feel like, well, now what? You're worried about the future, you know what I mean? Like I said, I'm a father, and now what? Who do I have to lean on? Who do I have? It just goes back to just me feeling lonely. Like I don't have anyone. And one day I will lose my Nana, and I don't even want to think about that day. But when that day comes, you just feel, I don't know. Then what do I have? You know what I mean? Who do I have to keep me sane? Who do I have to give me a different perspective? Who do I have to tell about my days to, I don't know. I'm lonely. And my baby mama had a baby, and she had a family, and she's happy, and I'm not happy. And you think, why aren't you happy? I think it's because I made myself unhappy. And I think because when we were together, I was a boy. And God almighty, if I could go back and kick that boy's ass, I would, and just set him straight. And it's funny because someone asked me recently, what would a couple of years do? And I said, a couple of years. Anything could happen within a day. A couple of years. A couple of years can mean everything. It's funny because I had my baby when I was 22, 23, I think. And now I'm 27. And that doesn't seem like a big difference. But oh God, it really is. I'm not a boy anymore. I think more like a man. I regret the decisions I made when I was a boy. And all of the things that you thought were unimportant are actually very important. Like credit, a career, money, putting money away, treating people with kindness, respect, treating people the way you want to be treated, love, all of the things that I wish I valued more,
all the things that would have made me happy. Because the others sure as hell did not. The other things that I felt were important, all the women I messed around with, or I can count on one finger how many I still talk to. All the things that you thought were important at the time just fade away. And you start to think, God, what a boy you were, you know? And as you start to grow up, some men realize it just in time, and some men realize it too late. And some men can have it as a good roadmap for the future. You know, it's tough. Just like those visions I've been having. When I walk into a room and see these little kids, it's like a punishment, you know? You see your regret and you visualize all the things that could have been. You see your mistakes, your pain, and you see the boy that you were and the man that you had the opportunity to be. And now all I can hope is that I show my daughter what it is to be a man, and to show her what a man should act like. The kindness, love, and respect she should get from a man. I regret a lot of things, you know. My biggest accomplishment, though, was that little girl. But if I'm taking responsibility for my own happiness, I also have to find other things that do make me happy. Because as of right now, the only things that really make me happy is when I have my daughter, and I only have her every other week, you know? And I've been preaching to you guys to not let your past control your future. But the thing is when you look up into the sky, some of those stars have been extinguished for thousands of years, but their light is only just reaching us now. The past always has an effect on our present and on our future. It just depends on what we do with that information moving forward. I don't know who I'm going to be with moving forward, or how I'm going to get there, or how I'm going to meet this person, but I know that if I want to be happy with someone else, that I have to be happy with myself first. It also means making some changes. I just hope to God that part of those changes includes growing with someone on my end. I just really don't want to be alone. I've been feeling down about it a lot, you know? I'm feeling down that I feel like at times I've had shitty parents, and I have to put a shitty performance on about how happy and funny I am to other people when I'm really distressed or sad. I've been feeling down that my baby mama has one up on me, you know? And if you guys have any advice that I don't know, please email me at hello@ventpack.org, and I'd be happy to read your words and hear the support that you can share. And maybe we can all figure it out together. So, I'm going to take my happiness in my own hands and take responsibility for it. And I'm going to keep pushing forward, and I'm going to wake up with a routine. I'm going to drink some more tea. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start doing meditation and yoga. I'm going to drink a boba. I'm going to do everything I need to do to wake up and get back on track. This depressed feeling, it's just not it. And part of it, I'll tell you the truth, part of it is these damn pills, you know, these antidepressants that I take. They almost just make you feel like you're empty inside. And look, I'm not against antidepressants on principle. It's just, I just don't like taking them. I just don't like taking extra pills in general. I don't like, at times, the way they make me feel. And again, I'm careful to say that because anyone who does need it should go out and get it. Sometimes I wonder how actually more depressed I would be without them. You know what I mean? But I hate the way I feel when I don't take them for 2 days and forget, and I have an electric shock spiraling through my body. I hate the way that sometimes it just makes me feel numb. Like I feel nothing. Like I feel like it changed me, you know? And like I said, granted, I'm not as depressed as I would be without them, but I don't know. You just feel nada. I don't like that I don't have a sex drive. I don't have the desire to do most things. I just feel numb. And I guess maybe that's part of it. I just want to feel something. I just want to feel happy. Well, I digress. Thank you guys for letting me get that off my chest and allowing me to vent with you. I know that was a very long venting session, and I'm sure if you were a therapist, you'd be paid very well. But, yeah, you're not. I'm happy that you guys allowed me to share that with you, and I'll tell you, I needed it. I want to tell you guys about the new segments that are on our show. One that I'm going to start just here in a minute is called Mailbag. Again, Mailbag is a session that I'm bringing up on the show where you can just mail in a question to me. So if you email me at hello@ventpack.org, and in the subject line you type mailbag, type in your question, and if it's appropriate, I'll read it and answer it on the show. Another one is called Venting Sessions. If you want the opportunity to vent with me, if you want the opportunity to be a guest on the podcast and talk about anything in regard to relationships or co-parenting or being a father, whatever the case may be, email me at hello@ventpack.org. In the subject line, type venting and just type to me on what you want to vent about. And again, if it's appropriate and we have the time, we can schedule something on where you can actually be a guest on the podcast with me. And we can have a little venting session together. And it's fun. So I'm going to go ahead and read some mailbag questions from you guys. The first one is from Anonymous. What do you think the hardest part about being a co-parent is? The hardest part about being a co-parent is, I say, having different parenting styles. I'm not talking shit or whatever the case may be in any way, shape, or form. But I recently thought that my daughter was a little stressed out about like different changes in her life, and me and her mother a while back had a big fight, and our communication kind of fell to an all-time low. During that time, I felt like we weren't really communicating on how we are parenting her. And I kind of offered to bring that back up again, and I said, hey, I'm willing to share my parenting style with you. And she wanted, her reply back really was just she wanted to keep our parenting styles separate, which in my opinion is the wrong way to go about things. But, I can't control other people. So that is probably the hardest part about being a co-parent, is oftentimes you're not on the same page. And, I don't want any confusion or just any out-of-pocketness when it comes to my daughter. I want her to feel comfortable, safe, and as normal as possible. Even though it's not a normal situation, I want her to feel like it's not hard, at least. So it's a challenge for me accepting that. So yeah. This question comes up a lot from Anonymous. When you actually are in a relationship, are you going to change the name of your podcast? Probably not. The Single Father podcast I think, goes beyond just me being single. I think it's just sharing my experiences of being a parent and fatherhood, mental health, and relationships. And, time will tell what happens in the future, but probably not. Next question. What do you think the goal of co-parenting is? What do you think the goal of co-parenting is? That's a good question. It's simple, but maybe there's a deeper answer there. On face value, the goal is kind of like what I just said, to make sure everything flows as natural and as smooth as possible, making it a very comfortable and seamless experience for your child, and making it not about your disagreements, but agreeing together collectively when it comes to the well-being and benefit of your child. The goal of co-parenting is just to, if you can't parent together in the same house, to make sure you guys have the same type of deal and outside of your guys. It doesn't make sense. Now, is there a deeper answer there? Probably, but I'll just give you the simple one. Okay. The next one from Anonymous. How do you think your mental health has affected your parenting? I tried not to let it affect my parenting. Because although I can complain about being alone and sad, I have always, I have this philosophy at work. I was telling one of my colleagues this at work. I have this guy that I work with, and I don't know if I can say a lot, but I have this guy that I work with who I feel takes his personality, which is great, but he takes personal things from his personality and integrates it with his work over the phone in sales. And I think he shouldn't do that. And it's kind of hard to speak in detail because I want to keep it private, but he has a very bro personality, and you can't have that broness, or you can't have irritation over the phone when you're trying to sell things, right? And I always tell him, look, every day I wake up in the morning and I'm pretty much grumpy, and I'm a goofy guy, right? Both those things are simultaneously happening in the morning for me. I'm either goofy or I'm either grumpy, but none of those things show on the phone with my clients. And all of the anger or all of any bad day I had prior, I leave that at the door when I come into work. And I work from home, so the moment I log in and I'm talking to everyone and I'm making my calls and checking up on everybody and everything like that, you'll never know that I had a bad day. You'll never know that I'm grumpy. And you may hear some goofiness, but the clients will never hear it over the phone. And the same thing kind of goes with my daughter. Any shit that I have, any baggage that I'm carrying around, she'll never experience any of it. It's always just me being a dad, because me being a dad comes first above everything. You know what I mean? I put all my shit aside because my daughter needs me. And, that's what being a parent is about. Because when you're a parent, you don't get the luxury of putting yourself first. You put your child first. It's an extension of you. They will live longer than you. You have to secure the bag. You know what I mean? I'm securing my child, making sure that her growth not only well exceeds mine, but look, she's the very best of me. Anything she needs, she comes first. So, yeah. I'll read one more. Anonymous. Have you ever been in love? Yeah, I have been in love. It's truly hard to say whether I was in love or not with my child's mother, just because of the way things kind of transpired and negatively went down. But, I was in love. Yeah, I was in love before. And I'm a romantic. I was born on Valentine's Day. Not a knock on him, but I didn't really get to learn on what it meant to be romantic or be a man from my father per se. So everything I learned on romantic movies and 90s rom-coms and shit like that. So it's in my heart, and that's kind of how I was raised to be and to act. And some women may disagree based on how I acted in college. This angry guy who was angry at the world and his parents, but in truly in my heart, in the heart of hearts of who I am, I'm a romantic, and I just scrolled past your question, so I forgot what it was, but I hope I answered it. So yeah, that will be, I'll have these questions more organized next time when we do mailbag. We'll always do them at the end of the podcast, just so you can kind of hear the questions. Again, if you have a question for me that you want to write in, or just a comment or whatever, just write it in at VentPack, or hello@ventpack.org. And in the subject line, write mailbag. And I'll be sure to read your question on the show, and just be sure to write in whether you want to be anonymous or username. So that is that. Guys, thank you so much for allowing me to experience this with you guys, and to tell you everything about my my journey so far, and to kind of what I've been going through. Like I said, I'm not seeing a therapist right now, so it really helps just kind of having a community that I could speak to, where we can support each other. And speaking of community, I started a Facebook group. It's called the Single Father Group. Please go check it out. And if you are said single father and you need some support and need to vent to a pack who has your back, VentPack, join the community, join the group. It's called the Single Father Group on Facebook. I'll be on there every once in a while, just popping in topics and shit like that, and I hope that can grow, and I'll be able to help more people. That's really what I want to do in the heart of hearts of who I am. I want to be able to help people. I want to be able to have my experiences be maybe a roadmap, or a guide, or a comforting voice to some people out there that know that you're not alone. And that's really what it's about. And it's funny, just reading one more anonymous question here. It's it says, would you ever want another kid? Of course, but not until I'm married. The next kid I'll be a traditionalist. I will. The same mistake cannot repeat twice. So I want to be in something where it's more of a, if not ring on the finger, it's more of a bond, a blood bond with each other before I have another kid. But thank you so much. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. Leave a review. It really does help, and allows the podcast to grow and to be better content oriented. Maybe have some guest spots. And I have a lot of plans for the podcast moving forward. I still have this mental health app that I'm planning on getting developed, and I want everyone to be involved with the pack, and be able to vent with each other. And I just want this to be a really a community. You know what I mean? So thank you very much, and be sure to like our socials. It's going to be the Single Father Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. I think if you type in VentPack on YouTube, you can check out the Single Father Podcast on the playlist there, and get to experience every episode on YouTube if you wish. As the podcast grows, I plan to have video podcasts coming up soon. My setup is not built for that as of right now, so that'll be kind of phase 2, you know what I mean, of the podcast. So stay tuned, stick with me, guys. Things will only get better. And as we vent together, and have each other's back. Thank you for being a part of my pack. Bye-bye.